Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, November 28th, and time, once again, after too long a break, for the mailbag. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday, those of you who celebrated the holiday. As for the rest of you, I hope you had a great week and a great weekend. So now you're going to see what a mailbag looks like when Thomas has been away for like a month and a half. Yeah, no more of this long extended traveling next year. Going to get back in the saddle. It is really good already to be back recording and making content for you guys. You know, the lack of regular updates, I know, has kind of harmed the channel's growth. That's just the nature of things. But I am looking forward now to really picking it up, starting towards the end of this year and all the way through 2023. So, very excited about that, and I am happy to share with you a small mountain of books, right? So, I don't really have any announcements, so without further ado, let's get into them, shall we? All right, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the books you're going to see today will be things that are already out and available for you to buy. Many of you have probably already bought them. This is just, again, I've been gone for so long, this is all the mail that has been piled up in my absence. And so we're just going to get through them. I'm not going to try for any particular order. I haven't taken the time before recording to subdivide everything into publishing groups. So this first one right here is from Random Penguin. And this is a great one to start out on. This is a physical arc, which I am not in the habit of asking for from publishers much these days. Anyway, this is for the new horror novel by Grady Hendrix, How to Sell a Haunted House. Comes out in January, and January the 17th to be precise. So let's see what this one has to say. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. When Louise finds out her parents have died, she dreads going home. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. She doesn't want to deal with her family home, stuffed to the rafters with the remnants of her father's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. She doesn't want to learn how to live without the two people who knew and loved her best in the world. Mostly, she doesn't want to deal with her brother Mark, who never left their hometown, gets fired from one job after another, and resents her success. But she'll need his help to get the house ready for sale because it'll take more than some new paint on the walls and clearing out a lifetime of memories to get this place on the market. Some homes don't want to be sold, and their home has other plans for both of them. All right, so here we go. How to Sell a Haunted House. January the 17th from Berkeley Books by Grady Hendrix. And I am super excited to have this. This is a brand new hardcover re-release, a new special edition hardcover of Neal Stephenson's debut. It is a classic of cyberpunk fiction, Snow Crash, in from Del Rey. Very attractive book. If those of you who have heard of Snow Crash but haven't read it, don't know much about it, I will do the flap for you. But this book came out, I think, originally in 91? Let me just double check on that. 92. All right, so this would be a 30th anniversary edition, which is why they've done it, I guess. All right. Hero lives in a Los Angeles where franchises line the freeway as far as the eye can see. The only relief from the sea of logos is within the autonomous city-states, where law-abiding citizens don't dare leave their mansions. Hero delivers pizza to the mansions for a living, defending his pies from marauders when necessary with a matched set of samurai swords. His home is a shared 20 by 30 use store it. He spends most of his time goggled into the metaverse. Good old prescient cyberpunk, gotta love it, where his avatar is legendary. But in the club known as the Black Sun, Hero's fellow hackers are being felled by a weird new drug called Snow Crash that reduces them to nothing more than a jittering cloud of bad digital karma and IRL, a vegetative state. Investigating the infocalypse leads Hero all the way back to the beginning of language itself, with its roots in an ancient Sumerian priesthood. He'll be joined on this journey by YT, a fearless teenage skateboard courier. Together they must race to stop a shadowy virtual villain hell-bent on world domination. Been close to 30 years since I've read this one myself, so here's a great edition for a reread and for a first-timer, if you haven't yet. So Snow Crash, out in a 30th anniversary edition hardcover from Del Rey. And this one is in from Angry Robot Books. It is called Where It Rains in Color. And the author is Denise Crittenden. This is a debut novel. And let's see what it has to say for itself. Liliala has just been named the Rare Indigo, Beauty Among Beauties, and is about to embrace her stardom until something threatens to change her whole lifestyle and turn the planet of Swazembe upside down. Colonized by the descendants of Earth's West African Dogon tribe, the planet of Swazembe is a blazing, color-rich utopia and famous vacation center of the galaxy. No one is used to serious trouble in this idyllic, peace-loving world, least of all the rare indigo. But Liliala's perfect, pampered lifestyle is about to be shattered. The unthinkable happens, and her glorious midnight skin becomes infected with a mysterious disease. Where her skin should glisten like diamonds mixed with coal, instead it scabs and scars. On top of that, she starts to hear voices in her head, and everything around her becomes confusing and frightening. Liliala's destiny, however, goes far beyond her beauty. While searching for a cure, she stumbles upon something much more valuable. A new power awakens inside her, and she realizes her whole life, and the galaxy with it, is about to change. Okay. It sounds like this one is going to be rich with all kinds of social commentary, but Where It Rains in Color by Denise Crittenden is a December title from Angry Robot. And just going to keep on keeping on with the random penguin stuff here. And next up, here's one I've been expecting. This is the finished copy in hardcover of Chuck Wendig's Wayward, sequel to his book Wayfarers. This one came out on the 15th of November, so it's been out now for about a week or so. And, Wayfarers, I read it when it first came out and reviewed it here on the channel. You can hunt that review down for yourself, or I might link it, what the heck. It's a book that I liked, all right, an apocalyptic science fiction epic, although I do not think that it quite rose to the Stephen King's The Stand, levels of epic to which, Wendig was clearly aspiring with that book. But if you like that kind of thing, it wasn't bad, all right? Wayward, let's see what it has to say for itself. 5 years ago, ordinary Americans fell under the grip of a strange new malady that caused them to sleepwalk across the country to a destination only they knew. They were followed on their quest by the shepherds, friends and family who gave up everything to protect them. Their secret destination, Ouray, a small town in Colorado that would become one of the last outposts of civilization. Because the sleepwalking epidemic was only the first in a chain of events that led to the end of the world, and the birth of a new one. The survivors, sleepwalkers and shepherds alike, have a dream of rebuilding human society. Among them are Benji, the scientist struggling through grief to lead the town. Marcy, the former police officer who wants only to look after the people she loves. And Shauna, the teenage girl who became the first shepherd and an unlikely hero whose courage will be needed again. Because the people of Ouray are not the only survivors, and the world they are building is fragile. The forces of cruelty and brutality are amassing under the leadership of self-proclaimed President Ed Creel. And in the very heart of Ouray, the most powerful survivor of all is plotting its own vision for the new world, Black Swan, the AI who imagined the apocalypse. Against these threats, Benji, Marshy, Shauna, and the rest have only one hope, one another. Because the only way to survive the end of the world is together. Okay, and so that is Wayward by Chuck Wendig, available now from Del Rey Books. All right, so moving on down the line, I'm not entirely sure who this one is from, so guess we'll find out. Okay, here's one that I do know has been out for a little while, from Tor.com Publishing. This is a new book by Andrea Hairston called Will Do Magic for Small Change. All right, so let's have a look. All right, Cinnamon Jones dreams of stepping on stage and acting her heart out like her famous grandparents Redwood and Wildfire, so it is a sequel to that book. But she's always been theatrically challenged. That won't necessarily stop her, but her family life is a tangle of mysteries and secrets, and nobody is telling her the whole truth. Before her brother died, he gave Cinnamon the Chronicles of the Great Wanderer, a tale of a Dahomian warrior woman and an alien from another dimension who perform at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Theirs is a story of magic and alien science, but The connection to Cinnamon's past is unmistakable. When an act of violence wounds her family, Cinnamon and her theater squad determine to solve the mysteries and bring their worlds crashing together. Okay, and so this is available right now from Tor.com Publishing. Will Do Magic for Small Change, a sequel to Redwood and Wildfire. And next up, I have what appears to be a pretty heavy package from Simon & Schuster. Okay, then I wasn't expecting to get a physical of this, but this is in from Saga Press in trade paperback, and it is The Lonesome Crown, which is by Brian Lee Durfee. It is a massive, colossal epic fantasy tome, about 1,050-ish pages, and it is the third and final volume in his trilogy of the Five Warrior Angels, which I think, the first couple of books were the Forgetting Moon, and I think the Blackest Crown or the Darkest Crown, something like that. So this is the third one, trilogy that I've had, in my possession for some time. But again, it's one of those that's like so vast in size, it's a little bit, intimidating for me. But, now that the whole thing is out, maybe I'll, set aside some hours in my life and give it a go. But The Lonesome Crown, finally out and available, completing the trilogy from Saga Press. Now, in contrast to that, I have a very lightweight little package from HarperCollins. And this is the finished copy and hardcover of The River of Silver by S.A. Chakraborty. This came out on the 11th of October, so it's been out quite a while. But this is a collection of short fiction set in the universe of her Daevabad trilogy. So it's a companion volume, a compilation of stories from before, during, and after the events of the first three books, told from the perspective of characters both beloved and hated. These stories gather material both seen and new, including a special coda that fans will need to read, making this the perfect complement to those incredible novels, now together in one place. So I guess that these have already been out, as little ebooks, right? And now they've just been put all together in hardcover. Now together in one place, these stories of Daevabad enrich a world already teeming with magic and wonder. Explore this magical kingdom hidden from human eyes, a place where jinn live and thrive, fight and love, a world where princes question their power and powerful demons can help you or destroy you. And it goes on like that. All right, so now the saga, I guess, is complete in physical form with this collection, The River of Silver, by S.A. Chakraborty. And this one is in from Saga Press. This is the finished copy in hardcover of The Voyage of the Forgotten. This finishes up Nick Martell's trilogy, The Legacy of the Mercenary King. The first two books being, I think, the Two-Faced Queen, and I can't remember the first one offhand. But anyway, it's here, it's done, and now I can't really give away any plot spoilers, of course. But I have the entire trilogy, and, now that it is complete, once again, maybe I can get into it. But this does not look quite as big as Brian Lee Durfee's book. But, yeah, for those of you who like to get trilogies all in one go and then binge them at once, this came out on November the 1st, so it's available now in hardcover. All right, next up, this is one that I'm very happy to have directly from the author. The author is Kay Kenyon, someone whose writing I have praised here on the channel many times, as well as my website. I'm a huge fan of her stuff, but she's never quite risen to the levels of stardom in the field I feel like she deserves. But this is, in contrast to her early stuff, she started out her career mostly writing standalone science fiction sagas. Some had sequels. Anyway, point is, she's now kind of shifted into fantasy a bit, and this is called The Girl Who Fell into Myth. It's book one of the Arisen Worlds. Comes out March the 1st. She's chosen to self-publish this one, I believe. And this appears to be a sort of very meta portal fantasy in which, the myths of Earth, here it is, long ago they were driven out, but rather than fading, they arose anew in this alternate realm called the Mythos. Okay, so let's see what this has to say for itself. Fall into the magic land of the Mythos along with its brave and forgotten daughter. Yevlisa, or Yevlisha, a 21st century woman, travels through a secret portal, flies on the back of a dragon, and encounters a storm that splits open the sky, before arriving severely damaged at the royal castle of Numenat. In this kingdom of deep powers, she is devoid of magic. Determined to claim her place, she must contend with dangerous court intrigues and face off with a sorceress who hopes to cast this foreigner from the great tower. It's always drama with the sorceress, right? Yevlisha may find protection with a powerful lord if her heart can bear the penalty of his conditions. Uh-oh. In the end, however, she must find her birthright power if she is to survive. But what she discovers is a perilous magic that, once revealed, may make her a permanent outcast. Okay, so this is The Girl Who Fell into Myth, coming out March the 1st by Kay Kenyon. Okay, so next up, more small press offerings. I have a trio of horror paperbacks here from an imprint called Cat Haven Press. So I assume that we had an email exchange some weeks ago. I'm terribly sorry if I forgot all about it, but I'm very happy to have the books all the same. First one of these is an issue in trade paperback of something called Occult Detective Magazine, and this is issue number 8, and it's not a new one. Apparently this is like from December of last year, so I don't know what issue it's up to now. But anyway, this is a collection, a magazine full of quite a few good, looks like about a good dozen or so pieces of horror short fiction, and says all the elements of literate, affectionate, and skillful pastiche are here, and etc. So here you go. Occult Detective Magazine. If you weren't aware this exists, you may want to look into it and see for yourself. And next is a short fiction collection, a horror short fiction collection called A Solemn Curfew and Other Dark Tales, and the author of this is Bev Allen. So I'm not familiar with, but it says wickedness, swan songs, and longing in the fens, and the truth behind exactly what is needed to make the very finest of cheeses. A girl who knows what really lives at the bottom of the garden, and a woman who has no idea what is living in hers. Not to mention the troubles of an ambitious castle cook who encounters some exceedingly unusual mushrooms. In these and 4 other dark fantasy tales, including one original to this first paperback edition, Bev Allen presents a feast of strangeness and folk horror. Clever, wry, in touch with the earth, and yes, often rather weird. Okay, well, I'm up for this. I'm always happy to discover a new author of horror and dark fiction. So Bev Allen, A Solemn Curfew. And finally, one more collection. This is called The Angry Dead. The author is Rosemary Pardo, and this is billing itself as an Occult Detective Magazine special edition. So I guess that they've just picked a bunch of stories of this particular author and put them all together. So let's see. Jessica Amanda Salmonson says, I love the occult detective subgenre of literary ghost stories a great deal, and none more so than the ghostly investigations of art restorer Jane Bradshaw. Okay. So, maybe this is a collection solely focusing on that character. But if so, The Angry Dead by Rosemary Pardo. And once again, these are all from Cat Haven Books, a small press. So go ahead and look them up online. Okay, now I have a little package from Undertow Publications. Okay, I'm over the moon to have this. This is a novella short novel that I've been looking forward to for some time, especially ever since I saw that cover, which has kind of a Clive Barker vibe to it, if you look at it carefully. This is by an author named Rebecca Campbell, and it's called The Talosite. It's not life as you or I live it. It's not pain or thought as we know it. It's a different order of existence. He was made of copper wire and electrical sparks and ethereal fluid and hyphae, whatever that is. Emerging in the mist of dawn, what arises is no longer man. They're all dead, but dead doesn't always mean what it used to. All flesh has an afterlife, and from that perspective, are we not angels, ushering them from one form to the next? Well, all right then. It sounds like a horror story with a philosophical bent. But The Talosite by Rebecca Campbell, I guess it is now available from Undertow Publications. And I'm going to stick with these little packages for the moment. This comes in from Rebellion Publishing. Okay, I recall now. This is one that I have been in touch with the author about as well. And this is one of the Solaris Satellites editions of novellas that they are doing. The author is Mario Coelho, I think. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry if I absolutely destroyed that pronunciation. It is what it is, sorry. But Unto the Godless What Little Remains is the title of this one. And I have to say, a Solaris, for something that is a signed special edition, signed and numbered, I do wish that it had been packaged a little less flimsily, because this one has suffered some damage from the post. All right, so just food for thought in the future. But let's see what it has to say for itself anyway. Okay, the internet is a lonesome god. Liverloin is a fractured man, a collection of personas, artificial constructs of wants, fears, and needs, created by underground science artists to help him hide in a hyperconnected world. But he can't hide from Big Mama. She is the living internet, a benevolent AI who knows everything and everyone, and is somehow in love with Liverloin. Agent Stevely works for DAIS, an AI on the other side of the internet, the darkness to Big Mama's light. DAIS's agents manipulate news, information, and the media, and pull the strings behind world events, but DAIS cannot control Big Mama or understand why she loves Liverloin. Ancient Stevely, bound body and soul to DAIS, maybe it's Deus. Maybe I shouldn't be, spelling it out, Thomas. Come on. Anyway, Agent Stevely will stop at nothing to find the answer. All right, then. So, once again, Unto the Godless What Little Remains is part of the Solaris Satellites series of SF novellas. All right, so now I'm going to get into a long series of white envelopes here. As you know, these are in from Macmillan and Tor and related imprints. Okay, and this is cool. This is a physical arc from the Nightfire imprint of a new space opera horror novella called The Scourge Between Stars. The author is Ness Brown. This one, I believe, comes out in April, the 4th of April of next year. And I have already read it. I just finished reading it, as a matter of fact. Not going to tell you what I think of it right now. I'm going to wait until closer to release. But I will read the back. So, let's see. And as acting captain of the starship Calypso, Jacqueline Albright is responsible for keeping the last of humanity alive as they limp back to Earth from their forebears' failed colony on a distant planet. Faced with constant threats of starvation and destruction in the treacherous minefield of interstellar space, Jacqueline's crew has reached their breaking point. As unrest begins to spread throughout the ship's wards, a new threat emerges, picking off crew members in grim, bloody fashion. Jacqueline and her team must hunt down the ship's unknown intruder if they have any hope of making it back to their solar system alive. All right? And so, yeah, The Scourge Between Stars, available this coming April from Tor Nightfire. And next up, we have a finished copy in hardcover of Into the Wind-Racked Wilds. And this is the third volume in the Up and Under series by Shannon Maguire, writing under the pen name A. Deborah Baker. And these are tie-in stories to her duology consisting of middle game as well as seasonal fears, okay? And this one came out back on October the 25th, so it's been out about a month, so I'm sure if you want it already, you know about it and probably have it, but it is here from Tor.com Publishing, Into the Wind-Racked Wilds. And also in hardcover, this is The Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. This is a sequel to The Atlas 6. This appears to be a pretty popular new dark academia series. It's all the rage right now, that particular theme. So once again, not going to give away too many spoilers, but it just says the Atlas 6 introduced 6 of the most devious, talented, and flawed characters to ever find themselves in a magical library, and then sets them against one another in a series of stunning betrayals and reversals. As much a delicious contest of wit, will, and passion as it is of magic, says Holly Black. Okay, so there you are. But the Atlas Paradox, it's available now, came out from Tor Books back on October 25th. So enjoy. All right, now here's one I am extremely happy to see. This is the finished copy in hardcover, came out November the 15th, of a new Tor.com anthology called Africa Risen, a new era of speculative fiction. And as you might expect, this is an anthology of 32 original stories showcasing the breadth of fantasy and science fiction from Africa and the African diaspora. And the editors are Cherie Renee Thomas, who is also the editor of SFF magazine, F&SF, there it is, Thomas, Algana Trovoy, Donald Ekpeki, and Zelda Knight. So strong editorial team right there to curate these stories. A group of cabinet ministers query a supercomputer containing the minds of the country's ancestors. A child robot on a dying planet uncovers signs of fragile new life. A descendant of a rain goddess inherits her grandmother's ability to change her appearance and perhaps the world. Created in the legacy of the seminal award-winning anthology series Dark Matter, Africa Risen celebrates the vibrancy, diversity, and reach of African and Afro-diasporic SFF and reaffirms that Africa is not rising, it's already here. So it's available now from Tor.com Publishing, Africa Risen. Okay, next up we have a new one from the Tor Essentials line of paperback re-releases. And they are getting heavily into the Gene Wolfe. I think Gene Wolfe may very well be the most reprinted single author that has appeared in the Tor Essentials line. But this is his story collection, a new edition of The Fifth Head of Cerberus, which came out many years ago. And so, let's see. Far from Earth, two sister planets, St. Anne and St. Croix, circle each other in an eternal dance. It is said a race of shapeshifters once lived here, only to perish when humans came, but one man believes they can still be found somewhere in the back of beyond. In The Fifth Head of Cerberus, Gene Wolfe skillfully interweaves three tales to create a mesmerizing pattern: the harrowing account of the son of a mad genius who discovers his terrible heritage, a young man's mythic dream quest for his darker half, and the bizarre chronicle of a scientist's nightmarish imprisonment. Like an intricate braided knot, the pattern at last unfolds to reveal astonishing truths about this alien landscape. Okay. So more Gene Wolfe. The Fifth Head of Cerberus is available now from Tor Essentials. And following that, from Tor.com Publishing, we have a new novella or short novel from C.L. Polk. This is called Even Though I Knew the End. It's a small hardcover edition. And it's available now. Once again, it says C.L. Polk turns their considerable powers to a fantastical noir. With Even Though I Knew the End, a magical detective dives into the affairs of Chicago's divine monsters to secure a future with the love of her life. This sapphic period piece will dazzle anyone looking for mystery, intrigue, romance, magic, or all of the above. An exiled Auspex, who sold her soul to save her brother's life, is offered one last job before serving an eternity in hell. When she turns it down, her client sweetens the pot by offering up the one payment she can't resist: the chance to have a future where she grows old with the woman she loves. To succeed, she is given 3 days to track down the White City Vampire, Chicago's most notorious serial killer. If she fails, only hell and heartbreak awaits. Okay, very cool. So it looks like it ties in something with the 1893 World's Fair, something which sounds like it goes a little farther back than, because the White City is a little bit before the era that we usually associate with noir, right? That kind of post-World War II era. So maybe there's some interesting alternate history happening here as well. But Even Though I Knew the End, this sounds really intriguing. It is by C.L. Polk from Tor.com. Okay, all of you who are still here. This is Ocean's Echo. Next up, this is in from Tor Books. The author is Everina Maxwell, and this is either the sequel or a companion volume, but probably a sequel, direct sequel, to a book called Winter's Orbit. This one came out on November the 1st, and so it's a queer romantic SF, as it were. Appears to be a new trend in science fiction publishing, but now the reading public can fall in love with Maxwell's galaxy all over again in the standalone novel Ocean's Echo. Okay, so apparently it's a related thing. You don't have to have read the first one. Rich socialite, inveterate flirt, and walking disaster, Tenalhin Halkana can read minds. Tenal, like all neuromodified readers, is a security threat on his own. But when controlled, readers are a rare asset. Not only can they read minds, but they can navigate chaotic space, the maelstroms surrounding the gateway to the wider universe. Conscripted into the military under dubious circumstances, Tenal is placed into the care of Lieutenant Surit Yeni, a duty-bound soldier. Whereas Tenal can read minds, Surit can influence them. Like all other neuromodified architects, he can impose his will onto others, which is an ethically shaky thing, of course, and he's under orders to control Tenal by merging their minds. However, he refuses to go through with his illegal orders to sync and control an unconsenting Tenal, so they lie. They fake a sync bond and plan Tenal's escape, and then I guess it goes on from there. And so, yeah, Ocean's Echo available now from Tor Books in hardcover. So yeah, this is a very, very Macmillan-heavy mailbag this time, and now I'm into some chunky boxes. And the first of these, naturally, is The Lost Metal, which is next up in the Mistborn saga, and this is the fourth, and I think intended to be the final volume in the Wax and Wane series, all right? So, and everyone knows about this one, I'm sure. Probably don't need to talk too long about it, but this one came out in hardcover on November the 15th, so it is available now for all of you Sanderson devotees. The Lost Metal. I gotta tell you, I mean, that man is a book writing machine. You know, a lot of people, I guess, just, because he's the 800-pound gorilla in the industry right now, people, like to slag him off. But I'll tell you one thing. I mean, whether you like his stuff or not, the guy produces, I mean, he does not let his fan base down. He does not keep them waiting 10, 12, 15 years between books, right? So next up in the Macmillan flood, I've got two physical arcs now for some upcoming books on the Tor.com imprint. And the first of these is a new novel by Emily Tesh called Some Desperate Glory. This is a chunky book. It's well over 400 pages. This one, I do believe, comes out. It's in April at some point. I mean, I'll get the actual date later on, but this one looks to be very, very much in the epic space opera or science fiction mold. It says, "While we live, the enemy shall fear us. Since she was born, Kyr, has trained for the day she can avenge the murder of planet Earth. Raised in the bowels of Gaia Station alongside the last scraps of humanity, she readies herself to face the wisdom, the powerful reality-shaping weapon that gave the Majota their victory over humanity. They are what's left. They are what must survive. Kyr is one of the best warriors of her generation, the sword of a dead planet. When command assigns her brother to certain death and relegates her to nursery to bear sons until she dies trying, she knows she must take humanity's revenge into her own hands. Alongside her brother's brilliant but seditious friend and a lonely captive alien, Kyr escapes from everything she's known into a universe far more complicated than she was taught, and far more wondrous than she could have imagined." So that is Some Desperate Glory. Sounds absolutely badass, and it comes out in April from Tor.com Publishing. And in March from Tor.com, we have a new novella by Malka Older, known for the, I think, Sentinel trilogy of novels. And this looks to be another in the future noir thing, right? So it says, on a remote gas-wreathed outpost of a human colony on Jupiter, a man goes missing. The enigmatic investigator, Massa, follows his trail to Valdegeld, home to the colony's erudite university, and Massa's former girlfriend, a scholar of Earth's pre-collapse ecosystems. Platy has dedicated her research and her career to aiding the larger effort towards a possible return to Earth. When Massa unexpectedly arrives and requests Platy's assistance in her latest investigation, the two of them embark on a twisting path in which the future of life on Earth is at stake, and perhaps their futures together, of course. So anyway, the mimicking of known successes, and this will be available in March from Tor.com Publishing. And the final box of Macmillan Chonk. All right, and once again, here's one that I was not expecting to get a physical arc of. I tend not to request physical arcs too much anymore these days. I say, if you're going to send me a physical, just send me the finished copy. But sometimes I get these, and I'm not unhappy to get them. But anyway, this is The Cradle of Ice by James Rollins. It is the second book in the Moonfall trilogy, and it is the sequel to The Starless Crown, which was the very first book that I reviewed in 2022, all right? Thought it wasn't bad, but anyway, very ambitious, maybe a little bit on the bombastic side, but, if what you want is that kind of entertainment, you will not be disappointed if that is what you're after. In The Starless Crown, an apocalypse was foretold, and a fellowship was formed. A soldier, a thief, a lost prince, and a young girl bonded by fate and looming disaster. Each step along this path has changed the party, forging deep alliances and greater enmities. All the while, hostile forces have hunted them, fearing what they might unleash. Armies wage war around them, for each step has come with a cost in blood, in loss, in heartbreak. Now they must split, traveling into a vast region of ice and to a sprawling capital of the world they've only known in stories. Time is running out, and only the truth will save us all. All right, then. So The Cradle of Ice, sequel to The Starless Crown, available February the 7th from Tor Books, and naturally I will have a very timely review of this one, too. Now for something that's a change of pace, here's a very small package, and it looks like it came to me. This is one from the author. We've been exchanging emails, so you'll be happy to know your book is here. Okay, so this is a little book called A Batch of 20, and the author is Chris Edwards. And this, unfortunately, is one of those small press arcs where the whole, like, not for resale thing is printed right along the front and back and across the blurb, the back cover copy. So there's some crucial information at the very beginning of this that I can't read, but apparently it's set on a facility. It's a story set on an abandoned oil rig in the Atlantic Ocean. Where something is building the usual drones and robots. I guess that's just a facility that does that. But also helpers, an organic life form all too close to human. Many people want Amino's helper division to end, including some of the employees who work there. But what do the helpers want? When Ethelred and 19 other helpers return to Amino to have their injuries healed, it starts a chain reaction of events that threatens not only their future, but the company itself. Ethelred and his fellows fight to define what they are, taking control not only of their own destinies, but Amino's too. And they do it in a way no human can predict. Okay, so this looks like it's kind of a satire about, workers' rights in the automated age, right? So, a batch of 20, and the author is Chris Edwards. All right, we have reached the end at last of this monumental mailbag, and I'm finishing up with the biggest package in from Random Penguin. No idea what the hell is in here. We're just going to have to find out. Okay, so it turns out that half of that massive box was all bubble wrap, which I appreciate. I get so many damaged books, in the mailbag, so nice to see some quality packaging there to protect them. What is in the box, apart from bubble wrap, are 3 Angry Robot titles, and I'm going to start with the one that is already out. This is a physical copy of Full Immersion, a novel by Gemma Amor. Full Immersion. What can you do when you're reeling from trauma, but you've tried it all? Counseling, yoga, pills, meditation, art, healthy living, none of it makes a dent. What's left? Magpie is out of ideas. She's desperate enough to try anything. Just when she thinks her life can get no worse, she discovers herself, or rather her own dead body, partially buried in the mudbank of a river. A man stands by, a familiar stranger. What does he want? And why can't she remember getting here? Why can't she remember anything? Unbeknownst to her, 2 pairs of eyes watch from behind an observation screen in a room filled with computers and sensors. An experiment is unfolding, but is Magpie the subject or practitioner? Reality becomes a slippery concept, and beyond the glass is something worse still, a hint of an outline, shaped in darkness. Magpie realizes all too soon that her journey has transformed from healing to survival. She must become the hunter rather than the hunted, with her missing memories the prey. In turn, brutal, beautiful, and absolutely terrifying, Full Immersion is the latest speculative horror from Gemma Amor. And this one is available now from Angry Robot. And next up, I'm not sure if this one's out already, if it's still forthcoming, but this is The Hollows. The author is Daniel Church. This, I believe, is another horror opus. Massive chunk of a book, by the way. There's something like 450 pages. It says, in the bleak midwinter, in a remote village in the Peak District, a once-in-a-lifetime snowstorm is coming, and Constable Ellie Cheatham has found a dead body. At first glance, it looks like he drank too much and froze to death. But the facts don't add up. The man is clutching a knife in one hand, and there's evidence he was hiding from someone who watched him die. Stranger still, an odd charcoal mark has been drawn into a stone beside his body. And this is only the first death. Soon the village is at the center of a whirling vortex of violence and darkness. As the short day ends, a horror as old and cold as the hills is stirring. The Hollows brings all the chills of 30 Days of Night and Midnight Mass horrifyingly close to home. Okay. And it is by Daniel Church, The Hollows, from Angry Robot. And finally, the last book of the day. This is called Hell Sands by Ever Dundas. And this probably is one of the most original concepts I've heard of for a spec-fic book. This appears to be a story all about a font. All right, it says, when every word you read, whatever it says, fills you with euphoric calm, that's Hell Sands, a typeface used everywhere by the government to keep people happy, blissful, and controlled. Unless you're allergic. And then every word is agony. Then Hell Sands is hell, and reading it will slowly kill you. Hell Sands is the story of two women. CEO Jane Ward is famous and successful until she falls ill with the allergy and her life falls apart, dumping her in the ghetto with the other Hell Sands allergic, HSAs, where she meets Dr. Iko Smith, a scientist who has a cure for the allergy, but she's on the run from the government, and the Seraphs, a terrorist group with their own plan for the HSAs. Hell Sands' innovative structure allows you to read either Jane or Iko's story first, before their lives meet in the terrifying finale. Hell Sands is dystopia writ large, a novel where words can kill. And this is available from Angry Robot. Whew! Wow. Okay, that was a mailbag for the ages, wasn't it? And that'll teach me to be away for a month and a half. But you guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, which you would like to see me prioritize for review. And otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please slam that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe if you have not done so. That is how the channel grows. And I'm hoping to start spurring growth once again into 2023. Again, after a year of things kind of being, kind of hanging fire. Let's get back in the saddle. Very exciting. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get occasional perks, like early access to some of my videos if I finish them on time. But mostly, the Patreon is set up to help me pay Matt Olson, my brilliantly talented and gifted channel artist, who does all of my amazing thumbnails and things for me. So I want to thank all of you for that additional support. If indeed you are among my patrons, I also want to thank the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube. And until I see all of you next time, please stay safe and healthy, and God knows there's enough of it. Happy reading.